So on the financing side, let's talk just generally about the concept. We put in a budget for about $350,000 for startup funds, and that's to hire our principal and office manager kind of up front, a good 5-6 months to a year before we open, and then to cover the training of the teachers that 2 weeks before the revenue kicks in from the state. And we get paid by the number of students that enroll. So there's a formula that each state has in each district, and it's about $6,000, $7,000 a student. And we don't really chase grants too much, but I'd like to more. So I'd like to hear a little bit more about that. It's not in the budgets now. There's a startup grant typically Florida has that we'd have to apply for, but we don't include that in our startup budget. So if that comes, it's on top of everything we're trying to achieve. Inside that startup budget is our curriculum, our early adoption, our marketing, all the early stuff to get open until state revenues start coming through. The plan to achieve financial stability all has to do with enrollment. So our biggest single variable is labor, and that's about 60-65% of the budget, 55 depending on how that shakes out. So if we have low enrollment, the first thing we do is start looking at cutting labor. That's the biggest thing. And then we have good, better, best, and we'll keep adding on more folks and more services. The better I can get the financing, the more capital we have for operations. That's the key. So there's 3 or 4 lenders that we've used. Some are really good, and I hopefully get them to step forward on this project, which I think I've already been talking to them about it, so that looks good. Systems and management. So the office manager has a function at the point of school, but typically we bring in a charter management back office business, and there's one in particular from Building Hope that I've talked to. It's about $30,000-$40,000 a year. But they run all the financial reports and audit the checkbooks and help move the HR kind of stuff through. And the office manager becomes a kind of a portion of that business. So they're the ones that are giving us the reports and things we need. We do an annual. We'll have a CPA. They'll do our annual taxes and annual finals. And then we do an audit, which is as nonprofit will be. All this stuff will be handed to the board on our meetings, and you'll get a snapshot of what's happening. And then there's usually a finance committee at the board level that's overseeing all this kind of stuff, and we're reporting, and I'm going to watch that very closely with you all between the school and the board to make sure that everything looks like it should. And if anything issues arrive, we know what to do and how to jump in pretty quickly. How does the budget address professional development, SPED staffing, and after-school summer programs? So after school and summer are cash-based, so parents pay for those. I've done situations where we have some grant money there if we have a low enough income demographic neighborhood, or we'll go out to the community to raise up a little funds for some sliding scales. SPED staffing, it's all in the budget, so we hire someone internally, and then we use services around, and that's again picked up in our and narrative is in the budget as well. And then how do we address professional development? So that's kind of where we come in with my folks to make sure we get you up to speed, and then work with your local people and our local staff and our local administrators to make sure we're all having the same conversations. So that is all picked up inside of the budgets that we've laid out. So that's your answers for finance. It's so nuanced and so big. The big things you remember is about 15 to 18% of your overall income goes to building, and about 60% goes to labor. So you're at about, 75 there, and then you have all the little stuff that comes on. So there's not a lot of wiggle room, and labor and building are your big ones. So other than that, we really work hard to make sure our expenses are low, and we're efficient, and we're good stewards with our money so that we can keep doing more and more good things for the students.